Hi, it's Steve. Today we're going to show you how to change the bellows on your front load washer, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a 7mm nut driver or a number 20 Torx screwdriver. We'll also need a flat blade screwdriver and maybe a pair of needle-nose pliers. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to do this repair, since we will be working near some electrical circuits, we'll need to disconnect the power first. We'll also need to pull the washer out far enough so that we can access the back of the washer to remove the 3 screws securing the top. So using a 7mm nut driver or our number 20 Torx screwdriver, we'll remove 3 screws across the back that secure the top panel to the cabinet. And then just pull that top panel back about 1/2 inch, then lift it up and remove it. Now next, we're also going to remove the lower access panel. And again, there are 3 screws that hold that in place, and using either our 7mm nut driver or our number 20 Torx, we'll remove those 3 screws. And then just allow that lower front panel to drop down and lift it away. We'll also need to remove the detergent assembly, so pull it out all the way, depress the little locking lever at the back, and then remove it completely. We'll next remove a single screw that is located just to the left of that dispenser assembly. And again, it's the number 20 Torx screw. And that's a little bit longer screw, so remember where that one was positioned. Now with the screw removed on the left side, we're going to take a flat blade screwdriver. I'm going to come in on the right side here from behind the console, and you'll find a little tab. And just depress that slightly, and then tilt the bottom of that console out to release it, and then go across the top and gently lift up on it and lift it over the edge of that retaining strap. We'll next open the door completely. Now across the bottom of the control panel, you'll see a little opening right in the center, and we're going to take that flat blade screwdriver and just reach in there and depress the tab that secures the bottom of it. We can then lift that console away, and you'll see that tab that we were releasing. We'll just lift that up, set it across the top of the cabinet, and then we can go ahead and next remove 3 number 20 Torx screws that secure the door lock assembly and door switch to the front panel. And next, we're going to remove the spring clamp from around the front of the bellows. And down in about the 6 or 7 o'clock position, you'll find a spring. Now once you've located that spring, you'll see that there are 2 oval ends on that clamp that attach to the spring. So just take our flat blade screwdriver, hook it into one of those oval openings, stretch the spring enough that we can pull that clamp free of the bellows. We'll set that aside so that we can reuse it later. And then we're going to pull that bellows away from the front panel and then just tuck it in behind for now. We can close that door up, and then we're going to remove 2 screws at the bottom that secure that front panel to the cabinet, as well as 2 more at the top. And again, we can either use our number 20 Torx screwdriver or our 7mm nut driver. We suggest you take the bottom ones off first, and just lift out on that front panel and support it carefully, and then remove the 2 top screws. Remember to support that whole assembly as you remove the screws. And just tilt it out slightly at the bottom, disengage the top, make sure that the door lock assembly pulls through the opening, and then we can set that whole assembly aside. Now to remove that bellows from the water inlet, I just want to carefully roll that off, but support that tube so that we don't damage it. And then over here in the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position, you'll see a gear clamp that secures that bellows to the tub. Now it's a 7mm clamp, so we'll get our nut driver on that, or if you can't get the nut driver on it, use a 7mm socket and ratchet. Now to make access a little easier, I'm just going to lift this door lock assembly off of its holder. There's a couple little arrowhead fasteners. You just lift them up out of those 2 slots, and we can tilt that down out of the way. So loosen that clamp sufficiently that it will pull out of the channel around that bellows. You'll probably find that the bellows is going to pop off at the same time, and you can peel the clamp off. And we can now discard the old bellows. Now when installing the new bellows, we want to make sure that this little raised rib on the back side of it is going to fit into that groove around the front of the outer tub, and as well the flange on the bellows will meet up against the flange on the tub. And lastly, there's a little indicator tab on that bellows that we'll put at top dead center to align it so the opening for the fill tube will line up. Now when we go to install the clamp on this bellows, we'll want to moisten this little channel in here where that clamp will be positioned, and that will allow it to move easier on that soft rubber. Now that we have the bellows properly positioned on the outer tub, we can go ahead and replace the clamp. So we'll very carefully tuck that in behind the inlet tube, and then make sure it fits into the channel around the edge of that bellows. Just pull that tub forward enough that we can get our nut driver or socket on the end of that clamp. Check to make sure it hasn't popped off anywhere, and then continue to tighten it. And once the clamp is secure, we can insert the fill tube into the opening on that bellows. Now when fitting the bellows over this water inlet tube, you can just moisten that inside of that opening a little bit to make it slide on a little easier. Make sure it's nice and tight all the way around and that we haven't got any twists in it. And then we can proceed to the front panel. We'll next reposition that door lock assembly, and then we can put the front panel back on. Now when reinstalling the front panel, we're going to tuck these 2 little ears up under the cross piece on the top. And then we're going to support that whole assembly until we get those 2 screws installed. Now with the 2 top ones in place, and then install the 2 bottom corners. And we can also install the lower access panel. Now we need to make sure that the lip on the top of that access panel fits up in behind the bottom of the front panel. Then we'll install that center screw first, just to support it, and then the 2 outside ones. Now next we'll open the door up, and then we're going to position that door lock and door switch assembly through the opening in the front panel. Make sure that it's lined up perfectly. And we'll take those 3 screws with the small flat washers on them and install those. And tighten those securely. Next we're going to pull that bellows out through the opening. And we want to make sure that we have the profile tucked around that lip on the front panel. And then we'll need to make sure that the flat portion of this gasket lays flat against the front panel. Now once we've verified that it's laying flush there, we're next going to put that spring clamp into that groove where the flat flange meets that edge of the bellows. We'll position that spring in around the 6-7 o'clock position. Make sure that the wire band is tucked in flush. Now once we have that clamp partway around, we can take our pliers and we're just going to grasp that loop on the end of the wire so that we can actually stretch the spring. So while holding that clamp in position, stretch the spring, and that will allow us to fit the rest of it around the bellows. Now make sure it's seated right in that junction. Now the new bellows will be fairly snug against the glass, so first thing we'll need to do is clean any crud that's on that door glass off of there first, and that will allow it to fit a little easier. Now next we're going to reinstall our console. Now when reinstalling the console, we'll need to line up this projection here in that opening. We're also going to want to make sure that this one lines up where the screw will attach, and also this tab will fit through that slotted opening on the right hand side. So hook the bottom in first, line it up, and then just push sharply in on the bottom so that that tab catches on the bottom first. And then we can go along the top and lift it up over that white plastic portion and make sure all of those clips engage. And we'll secure it with the one screw on the left side. Next we'll install the detergent dispenser. Line up the slotted edge on the left with the little channel. Push it in. And then we can put the main top on. So we're going to set that main top back about 1/2 inch from the back edge of that console. Lay it flat. Push it forward to engage. And then we'll install the 3 retaining screws across the back. We're now ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.